Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking the Baldur's Gate 3 girl characters on a tier list from best to worst. So, Larian did an incredible job making a lot of diverse female characters in this game that are all really great. So, I'll be doing a future list of this of all the guy characters as well, but I found this on Tier Maker and I want to give this a shot because let's get my thoughts on these characters. This game is incredible. First things first, we have Alfira the Bard. Now, she's actually kind of an interesting character. We meet her very early on in the game. If you play as the Dark Urge, I highly recommend knocking her out ahead of time so that she doesn't show up at your camp and end up getting Dark Urged. So, highly recommend doing that just to save her because she gives you the Potent Robe, which is a really nice thing, especially if you go as a Dark Urge sorcerer. But anyways, Alfira is an awesome character. When you first meet her, she's trying to come up with a song and you can help her come up with that song. She does a lovely performance. What's interesting too is you can follow her all the way through the game. Like, she'll show up in Act 3 and they're at the Elf Song Tavern there, and she shows up with her girlfriend, which she reveals to you if you speak with her in Act 3. So that's really cool. Also, on top of that, I think that she was potentially supposed to be a companion at some point because she does have they found dialogue options in the game after a certain patch where it seemed like it was dialogue options of her being dismissed. So I think that she was potentially supposed to be a companion at some point. I know Halsin got changed into a companion, but yeah, it would be cool to have a bard companion. I'm going to put Alfira in the A tier, as she does have a really nice story throughout the game, and just save her if you're playing as Dark Urge. That's my recommendation, because you'll get that Potent Robe, which is really nice. Next, we have Counselor Floric. Now, this is a character that's very tied to Will's questline. She is the right-hand woman to the Duke of Baldur's Gate 3. So if you're doing Will's questline, she's going to be a very important character. And she can give you a nice ability for the end game to be able to summon some Flame and Fist members, which is awesome. She's very straight and to the point, and from all the characters in Baldur's Gate 3, she's the least corrupt, I would say, in the city of Baldur's Gate. So gotta put respect on her for that. You can end up, if you don't rescue her in time in Act 3, after 5 long rests, she can get taken out, and it's very sad. So she is a good character, very straight, blunt, and to the point, which, I mean, people need that in Baldur's Gate 3, especially in the city where everything is full of corruption. So I would say she's a pretty great character. Not the absolute best. I want to put her in the B tier. But she does have a really big play in Will's questline, so I'd recommend helping her out if you're going to have Will in your party. Next we got Dame Aylin. Now, Dame Aylin actually has one of my favorite moments in the entire game. So, in Act 3, you save her in Act 2, but in Act 3, if you go to the Sorceress Sundries, Lorokin is there, and he wants to pay you 5,000 gold for the Night Song. And we don't want that. She's awesome. So, you can actually tell Dame Aylin about his plans, and she's like, no, I'm not going to let this happen. She literally rolls into the Sorceress Sundries and pulls a WWE move, picking up Lorokin over her head and backbreaking him over her knee. I thought that was one of the coolest moments in the game. I was like so shocked when I seen that. I remember my reaction. It was just an awesome moment as in total. So I want to put Dame Aylin in the S tier because that was just probably one of my favorite moments in the entire game. And she's overall a pretty cool character. She's like a paladin. She can fly around. She has some pretty heavy involvement in the plot, and she can hang around at your camp with Isobel. So, yeah, she's a pretty good character, I would say, overall. I'll put her in the S tier. Next, we got Auntie Ethel, the Hag. Now, she gives you the Hag's hair, so that, I guess, gets her at least 1 bonus point. But, yeah, she's gross, and the story involving her is it's a fun story. The area that you have to get to is very frustrating, though. My first ever time playing, I got completely wrecked and ended up dying in the dungeon area that she's in. But overall, I don't love the character. I mean, every good, typical, I guess, medieval style game has to have like a hag character. If you remember in Witcher 3, they have some hags as well, the cronies, and I'm going to put her in the F tier just because I hate what she does. Everything about it. She's just nope. Big nope for me. Similar vibes to like Sceleratus Fell. I don't like him that much either, so F tier for her. But she does give you the hag's hair, so maybe like an F plus for giving you a +1 to one of your stats. Highly recommend taking the hag's hair, although if you're a paladin, it will break your oath. Next we get Hope. Now Hope's actually quite an awesome character because she suffers quite a bit throughout the game, but she's extremely optimistic and always like in a good mood. And hey, I gotta put a lot of respect on that because if you went through what she went through, I don't think anyone would be going as happy as she is. And that's kind of why Raphael keeps her around, is because she stays positive throughout it all. So she's a dwarf. There's not many dwarf characters in this game, so the dwarf representation here is pretty awesome. I like her dialogue options, or dialogue too. She has some pretty funny things that she'll say, and she's like she seems kind of crazy when you meet her, but hey, she's been suffering in literally the House of Hope, named after her. I want to put her in the A tier. Hope is actually a pretty solid character overall, and I would recommend saving her because, yeah, it's just the right thing to do. Next, we got Isobel, and she's a pretty important character in Act 2 and into Act 3. Similar to Dame Aylin, they're a partner, and yeah, you can choose to just completely destroy the Last Light Inn if you want to, but that's only for evil playthroughs. I think that Isobel is a pretty solid character overall. She is Kethric's daughter, and he likes her a lot, to the point that there's a lot of stuff going on in the story related to her. So I want to also put her up in the A tier. She's a pretty decent character, her and Dame Aylin, but Dame Aylin I think is much cooler and does so much more fun stuff in the game. So yeah, I'll put her in the A tier. Next we have Jaheira. Now Jaheira, I love Jaheira. She's awesome. She comes from Baldur's Gate 2. She's probably one of the strongest people on this list. Actually, we do have some very strong people, but she is extremely powerful. She used to be like a level 20 fighter in Baldur's Gate 2. I'm putting Jaheira in the S tier. I want to put her above Dame Aylin. I think Jaheira is awesome. Now, my first playthrough, I didn't do any romance in Baldur's Gate 3 because I thought that I was silly, and I just thought that we had to get the Mind Flayer parasite out of our brain. So I went hard at playing through the story and didn't focus on romance at all. So my Act 1, I'd spent a lot of time in Act 1, but I didn't end up getting any romance. So what's cool is if you get to Act 3 and finish the game, in the epilogue, Jaheira will make you a harper if you didn't have a romance option. So I think that that's really cool. It made me feel a little bit better about it because Withers be chirping me nonstop about it. So yeah, Jaheira is awesome. She has a pretty cool quest in Act 3 where you can go to the old house and go into the basement and go through all of her old stuff. You get a really cool sword called the Belm, which gives you a bonus action attack, which is really nice. And it also takes the stats from your main hand weapon. So Jaheira's awesome. Her questline's awesome. I highly recommend having her around. Save her in Act 2. Don't let her... have her as your controlled unit so you can kind of move her out of the fray of things. But druids are also a very underrated class too. Next we got Karlach. Now, I could say a million great things about Karlach. She is just an absolute firecracker of a character. I played through my first playthrough with Karlach, and she was awesome. Now, in Act 3, after you take out Gortosh, she has one of the most passionate speeches, very depressing speeches in the game. It literally almost made me cry. It was that intensive, talking about her life and everything she went through. I'll save that for you to discover on your own because it was literally the most emotion I've felt in a video game. It was really well done with the voice acting. She's also kind of like a golden retriever, got really great energy whenever she's around, and she's been through a lot, but she stays positive, kind of similar to Hope in that regard. Yeah, Karlach's awesome. I think she's S tier easily. Next we have Lae'zel. I'm going to put Lae'zel also in the S tier. In some of the other tier lists, I put her in A tier, but Lae'zel is awesome. What makes Lae'zel so great is just, it's hard to put yourself in her shoes because the way she was raised, and if you take into consideration the context of everything regarding Lae'zel, she's actually a really great character. When we meet her, it's actually legit the worst day of her life because in Gith culture, the Mind Flayers are their biggest enemies, and she got infected with the Mind Flayer parasite, which could potentially turn her into her worst nightmare, and she has been taught all her life to go after them, and that's actually what caught her up in the Nautiloid. So Lae'zel is extremely scared. That's why she's so rude and blunt with you, is she's scared of what's happening, and she's also the youngest of the Origin characters. She's only like 20 something. So yeah, Lae'zel is awesome. I put her in the S tier. She has a really great character progression too as you go through the story. She really does change if you put time into getting to talk to Lae'zel. So yeah, S tier. Next we have Corilla. I think this is Corilla at least. Kind of looks like her, so I'm counting it as that. Corilla is an interesting character. She works for Raphael, similar to Hope, which is her sister. But she is in Act 3. She can kind of appear in all acts, and you can actually sneak up behind her, which is kind of funny, but if you're not sneaking and she notices your character, she'll disappear. She also saved my character. I was being dumb in Act 1, my first ever time playing, and Priestess Gut almost killed my character, and she came to my rescue. So I have to put some respect on her for that. I don't think she's as awesome as Corilla, so I'm going to put her into the B tier, but yeah, pretty cool character. Next, we have Minthara. Now, Minthara is the funniest person I know. I love Minthara. She is extremely brutal, but also really funny at the same time because of how lawful she is. Now, she comes from Menzoberranzan, and she is a nobility. She's from nobility there, so you can expect a little bit of, that to come off on her character and how she is. But she's extremely blunt and quite rude, but in a funny way. When you first get into the city, she has some quite interesting things to say about the people there. Everything she does is quite funny, actually. I think having Minthara around is awesome. Like, she's always chirping Gale. She calls him wizard, but she actually has a lot of respect for him. If you play as Origin Gale, she actually shows a lot of admiration towards him and like kind of hypes him up, gives him pep talks, which is funny. But she also will roast the living crap out of him at the same time. There are some dialogue options, or there's some dialogue in this game where she's talking to Gale, and I'll leave that for you to discover, because just the funniness alone, like, she roasts Gale nonstop, and I think that's awesome. So I want to put her into the S tier. Next we have Mizora. Now, Mizora is actually an interesting character. There was a human version of Mizora planned. You can look that up if you're curious, but Mizora is Will's patron, and she obviously caused a lot of pain and suffering for him, which is awful. You can, there's a lot of interaction with her in the game, and also when you go to save her in Act 2, you can get the Infernal Rapier from her, which is an awesome weapon. It's a sword that's going to scale off of your charisma, very high damage, and a really good one because it also gives you a free casting of the Summon Cambion. She's a pretty alright character, not my favorite. I do know that she has a very, some people absolutely love Mizora, but I don't know. I like my boy Will too much to really give much respect to her. So I'm going to put her in a B tier because I just feel like I'll put her at the top of the B tier, though. Just not my favorite character. So yeah. Next we have Mystra. Now, this is an interesting one because Gale's entire, Gale's romance, Gale's quest, everything about Gale seems to be about Mystra. He's definitely not over his ex, and he's very sad about it. Mystra is interesting, though. Yeah, she's a goddess. She's a very powerful character. One of the most powerful in the entire Faerun. I don't know how to rate her, though, because she causes so much pain and suffering for Gale. So I might put her in the C tier because I don't know. She has a really well done character. I could put her up into the A tier. But justice for my man Gale. Justice for Will, justice for Gale. I'm going to put her in a C tier just because I've seen him to have it very stacked towards the S tier. And Mystra has just done a lot of bad things that, I don't know, some people might come into the comments being like, no, she deserves to be higher. But I'm just going to put her in a C tier because she's done too much damage to Gale. Next we have, I think this is Shadowheart's mother. Now, if I'm wrong, please correct me on this. But Shadowheart's mom doesn't have a huge play in the story. You can save her in Act 3. In my first playthrough, I didn't save them. I thought the right thing to do was not to save them. But you can save her, and in my subsequent playthroughs, I've done it. But I still don't know which is the better option to go with. They don't have a whole lot going on in the story, so I'm not going to put her as high as some of the other characters that have much more memorable moments. And if this isn't Shadowheart's mother, I'm drawing a blank on who that is. I thought it was Shadowheart's mom. Even though Shadowheart's mom looks a little more wrinkly, this picture is really dark and hard to see. Next we have Orin. Orin's actually quite an interesting character. So, Resident Evil Village, Lady D voices Orin as well, and they both have that similar scary vibe to them. Orin is such a freak. I'm scared whenever she shows up. She appears often in Act 3 as she's disguised as people. Really good villain, though. I think of all the villains, Ketheric being my favorite, Raphael probably a close second. She would be third. I want to put her up into the A tier because Orin is actually a scary villain. Not scary to the point that you're afraid of playing, but it's she's just so unhinged and wild. You don't know what she's going to do next, and every time that you see her, it's an intense moment. She also drops a really nice weapon that can apply vulnerability to piercing damage, so That's pretty good. Definitely for rogues, but yeah, A tier. Next we have Sazza the Goblin. Now, this is one that you can actually save multiple times. And funny story. So, you save her in Act 1, you save her in Act 2, and then we don't see her again. And it's kind of assumed that she got taken by the Shadow Curse because they didn't have a moon lantern, but in the epilogue, they actually reveal that she does survive. So in the epilogue, you get a chest with all the people that you've come in contact with and done their quests or done something minor with them. She leaves you a letter. In that letter, she's asking you to save her again. Some people really like Sazza, but she's always getting herself into trouble. And it's funny, she actually mentions that she got taken by cat people. Now, I need to get some balance in here. I'm going to put Sazza in the D tier because she doesn't know how to stay out of trouble, in a bad way. So, yeah, I'm going to put her in the D tier. Next, we have Shadowheart. I really like Shadowheart. I think that Shadowheart might be... I'll try and rank these by best to worst. So, I like... Shadowheart's awesome. Top of the A tier. Karlach. Maybe something like this for favorite characters. I'll go like that. Shadowheart is awesome. She can go either on a good playthrough or an evil playthrough, and I think that she has very well fleshed out character stories for both of them. So if you decide to go good Shadowheart, she dyes her hair blonde and becomes a Selenite, and has a really nice... I think the best way to do it is to make her a good character, because it's just... She's been through so much, and Shar, the Lady of Lost, she's been lied to her whole life and kind of manipulated in that sense. So I think it's best to save her from that because she doesn't deserve to be going through all that. She does beef heavily with Lae'zel. They definitely hate each other quite a bit. You know, it's kind of funny, but yeah, I think Shadowheart's probably the best girl in Baldur's Gate 3. So I gotta put her up at the very top of the S tier because she is awesome. Next we have Shar. All my homies hate Shar. We're going to put Shar in the F tier because she screwed around with Shadowheart way too much. We don't get a whole lot of Shar. We just hear about Shar often. Like we get to see Mystra quite a bit compared to Shar. I'm going to put her in the F tier. And finally, we got Vlakith. Now, Vlakith actually can cast a level 9 spell, command word kill, and take out your entire party. You can have a total party kill if you try to oppose her whenever you meet with her in the Githyanki Kresh in Act 1. I don't like Vlakith. She's a tyrant and she's super evil. So I'm also going to put her in the F tier because all three of these people are extremely evil. This isn't rating them on how good they are because we got Minthara, who's very evil as well. But yeah, these characters, I just don't like them. Whenever I see them, I'm like, ugh, get away. So yeah. That is my tier list of the best girls in Baldur's Gate 3. Let me know in the comments your thoughts. I always enjoy hearing people's thoughts on these characters, and there it is. Hit that subscribe button below if you found this video fun or useful, and I'll see you all in the next video.